Below there, I have an idea for the next mega rare in Runescape. Right now it seems like Jagex is kind of confused about where they want to go with the game, and they're not sure about what kind of mega rare they want to release that's going to be appropriate for the raid. And today I want to talk about something that I think will be both fitting for the raid, as well as going to be something that kind of changes the way that we play RuneScape as a whole. But first, let's talk about what I think the mega rare should not be. I don't think that it should be ranged, just because I think it's a little bit arbitrary for us to repeat the same cycle of range, melee, and magic, and instead we should be looking at different gaps in the game that need to be filled. Naturally, this would imply a crush weapon, but I think that this would also be pretty boring if the main use of the crush weapon is to be a DPS increase for monsters that need crush. I think that this is an issue that both the high-end community as well as Jagex are kind of facing right now, and it's a really big trap that we're falling into. I think that us focusing too much on DPS is going to be problematic because it becomes really one-dimensional and kind of boring at the end of the day. I think that RuneScape is so much more than just being a random number generator, and instead I think we should be focusing more on the other ways that we can play around with the system that we have. So the two requirements that I think we should have for a really interesting mega rare is something that both fills a niche in the game, as well as I don't think it should just be a boring one-dimensional flat DPS increase. Alright, so I'm going to stop edging you guys. I'm just going to reveal what the weapon is, and it's going to be the Chain of Guthix. Or honestly, I don't really know what kind of name it's going to be, but it's basically a chain with a big ass ball on the end of it. It's going to be a crush mega rare, but it's going to have the attack range of 2 tiles, similar to the Noxious Halberd. This weapon was inspired by Yomi from Demon Slayer. I really like how he hits really hard, but at the same time is very agile and runs around. And that is a very heavy inspiration for how I want this weapon to feel. Now, if you take a look at any PKer that uses the Noxious Halberd, you'll quickly see that there's actually a lot of really interesting pathing options that you have, and this is something that I think could be fleshed out a little bit more. When you attack with the Noxious Halberd, you get dragged into both the normal melee range, but also into a 2-tile attack range, which kind of mixes things up. Imagine that there's a boss that attacks with a 2-tile radius around it. Sometimes the options that you have just don't allow you to attack right up next to it with a normal melee weapon. But if you attack with something like the Noxious Halberd, you actually can get attack in, so you don't have to lose a tick. Jagex has already revealed that they want the 4th raid to be very movement based, so I think something like this that kind of switches up how you have to path and where you attack from and get dragged is a really good way to make not only the raid itself really interesting, but also change the way that you approach the whole game as well. Now on the screen I'm going to list all the main use cases for this weapon, but some things I want to highlight are the Duma Mokialo. Finally, the crush weakness that we have on the boss is actually going to be something that we can use. Fasani in particular I think can actually be something that gets easier because instead of relying on step unders and perfect timing, you can instead look for different gaps to attack from with the 2-tile range. There's one other case that I think would be kind of interesting to look at for this weapon, and that's PvP. I think that this weapon is very likely going to be something that's going to shift up the PvP meta, and I think that's going to be something we need to balance, but also I don't think it's the end of the world. I think it's actually going to be something that we can actually have in the game. Now, by itself, all these different things are going to be good for our crush mega rare, but I don't think are going to be enough to make it stand out, because all of these things are things that kind of already exist in the game. Instead, I think there's going to be another mechanic that I would like to introduce with this new mega rare, and that's RuneScape's first ever dash mechanic. Movement is an important part of any game, and it can often be the cool factor that draws people in. RuneScape's movement is no different, and extremely unique, with the ability to dodge mechanics if you understand what's really going on behind the system. However, this is movement that anyone can do if they understood what was going on. And so is this. And this. And this. But there's something uniquely satisfying and cool about a dash. Now, imagine this. What if we can go from here to here in one tick? That I think would be very cool, and honestly I don't think it would break the game. I think it's a natural stepping stone for the movement system that we have in RuneScape. Now that most people in the high-end community have perfected the base movement of the game, I'm very interested in seeing what they will do if they are given a new shiny toy. And I think that introducing a mega rare with a movement ability linked to it will fundamentally shift how we can design future boss content. And once you bring the necessity for this for weapons that have movement linked to them, you can then introduce weaker weapons but appropriate for the mid game and the early game as well. And if you think that it's going to be unfair for only melee to be the weapon that has a movement ability, you could easily introduce future mega rares for both the mage and the range style that also have some sort of movement ability. Honestly, before I talk too much, I think that this is a pretty good point for me to end this video. Let me know what you guys think. I think that this is going to be pretty cool. I think the game has so many opportunities for us to push what's possible, and I don't think that we should just be looking at basic DPS increases. I think that it offering other ways to play the game will shift the meta just as hard as something like T-Bow or a Shadow would. That's all. Thank you for watching this video, and let me know what you guys think.